Hey, Dr. Craig.
Hi.
Couple things. One, as a former research mathematician, I can confirm that you're right, that infinity was meant to be more of an idea than an actual, countable quantity. But the question that I have for you is, in this time of being in the information age, I was wondering, in your experience, in your research, have you seen the search or the yearning for understanding God and for finding God something that's been more achievable now in the information age, or is it something that people are kind of repelled from the thought of God?
Yeah. I don't think it's a matter of being repelled, but I do think that the so-called information age has actually had a negative effect rather than a positive effect, because what it has resulted in my experience, is information overload. I find that students are just so overwhelmed with information that they think, who can possibly know about these things? Craig gives all these arguments, but if you go to some atheist website, he claims to refute them all. And how can I know who's right? And so you hear this cacophony of competing voices, and I think sometimes students just sort of throw up their hands in despair and say, who knows anything about these ultimate questions? And so then they just kind of get on with life, unfortunately not really coming to terms with what I think are the most important existential questions that we human beings can ask ourselves. And I guess in response to that problem, I would say there's just no way around wrestling with the arguments yourself, weighing the objections to them and the answers to them, and making up your mind as to whether you think these are good reasons or not. But then also that seventh point that I mentioned, and that is one reason I mentioned it, the personal experience of God. God hasn't left us to work out by our own cleverness and ingenuity whether or not he exists. You don't have to be stalled in your relationship with God because of information overload. God is immediately accessible to you if you will simply search him with an open mind and an open heart, and can be known, I think, wholly apart from argument evidence. So one doesn't, in the end, I think, need to come to terms with all of these arguments and decide for sure whether you think they're sound or not, because I don't think ultimately they are the proper basis for belief in God. I think the proper basis for belief in God is God himself and the personal relationship with God that he provides for those who seek him.